Hi and welcome. I'm Andi Mioč and you are watching Context. As the US seeks to end the three-year-old war in Ukraine by directly engaging in talks with Russia, Washington's new approach to transatlantic relationships has made Brussels and other European capitals take stock of their own security. According to some analysts, it will take decades for Europe generally to catch up with the sheer volume of Russia's weapons production. Sluggish rearmament is maybe best seen in the example of Germany, who just last year achieved the current NATO goal of spending 2% of GDP on defense. The change to the decades-old German approach to its military started following Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine in 2022, when Chancellor Olaf Scholz pushed through a €100 billion special defense fund to help rebuild the Bundeswehr, the country's military. Known locally as the turning point, this policy has been supercharged by the presumed incoming Chancellor Friedrich Merz passing legislation in March reworking the debt cap, which could, in theory, allow the military to borrow money without a limit. A recent parliamentary report on the state of the Bundeswehr, however, paints a bleak picture of the country's military, from failing to achieve the desired numbers of standing troops to the state of the infrastructure. Can Germany be on the way of becoming a major military power? Can the lifting of the debt brake prove to be an efficient way to beef up the Bundeswehr? And how would that be perceived by both allies and foes, given Berlin's infamous history? Joining us to talk on this is Michael Hack, analyst coming to us live from Berlin. Welcome, Michael. Thank you for joining us. First off, let's talk scale. Currently, the German military is about 180,000 troops strong, with the goal of reaching 203,000. Mandatory military service was suspended in 2011, but there are some discussions taking place regarding conscription. Do you think that would be the way to go for Berlin, and how would that be perceived in the general public?
Yes, I mean, Germany right now is in a very critical time. This whole crisis fell into this period of coalition talks of our new government. We just recently had elections. And there's a broader debate in society how to progress with our policies, which have a direct effect on Europe. Germany is the key country here in Europe when it comes to building the bridge between East and West. And what we are doing here, particularly with our military, is a change of time. So our former Chancellor, Olaf Scholz, called that a Zeitenwende, so change of time, with, as you described, larger defense package which is there. But there's more to it now, and what is needed is a real ability to defend itself. And this is new to Germany, because before we were always under the shield, under the defense of the US, and this relationship is under stress. And we don't know how that will continue. So one of the measures which are discussed currently in the coalition talks is to stock up the German army and to have again this mandatory military service in place.
Well, with the debt brake suspended for defense spending, some estimates say that around €500 billion could be mobilized. How efficiently would you say these investments could prove to be, given the time needed for production, the manufacturing of modern, sophisticated equipment?
There is a bottleneck, definitely. And you see it how the stock market reacts on the German defense industry, like Rheinmetall. So these stocks are skyrocketing. And we will see how long this takes. Particularly since the German Bundeswehr also wanted to equip itself with this F-35 fighter jets, so with this whole defense program of Lockheed Martin, which is now in debate with the current developments, what we heard out of the US. We are prepared to spend enormous amounts compared to the last decades on military. When you look at the coalition treaties right now, they are discussing a 3.5% of the GDP spending on defense only. So this gives you an idea how much Germany has changed in investing into military. I think this is undebated as long as this war is going on between Ukraine and Russia. But it remains to be seen how this progresses when this war is eventually over in the next month or year, when there's a solution found between Ukraine and Russia, or between the US and Russia. So we will see how this then develops further. But for the time being, there's a massive spending, there's a massive will to gear up in defense spendings and in equipment.
Well, all the points you mentioned, this all comes as the European Commission announced its Rearm Europe plan that could potentially drum up 800 billion euros for pan-European security. How much of a role could Germany, as you mentioned it, being the largest economy of the bloc, play here?
Essential one. So you see that it goes all hand in hand. Von der Leyen is a German conservative, so this is all aligned with the coalition talks which are going on right now. Her relation with Friedrich Merz, with our future chancellor, is very, very close. And it is no surprise that this falls very much into these coalition debates right now and into the plans of Germany to invest massively in defense. So a large part of this Rearm EU program is directly in line and will be reflected by this coalition talks and by this coalition treaty, which is negotiated right now in Germany. So Germany will play here an essential role. It has to catch up to a certain extent. And the expectation also from the European partners is that Germany gets here more a leading role and to progress here, particularly on the equipment.
You've touched upon the F-35 fighter jets and the contracts with Lockheed Martin and others. Can a broader European strategy be developed so that the European Union could, let's say, shop at home?
Absolutely. I think this is the way we will react to this new relation what we have with the United States. I think it is also a healthy shock for the Europeans to see where if you want to be self-resilient, you need to have a certain infrastructure in place in your country or in the European Union as such, with the European partners. So I think that's really a good case now for Germany and for Europe to develop its own defense industries. And they are up to speed for that. So we will see progress here when it comes to fighter jets. I think this now decision with the F-35s, that's an essential one. But for the future, since this relationship is not that reliable as it was expected anymore, there will be a certain push to develop own European systems. And that could be a huge opportunity for Europe to cooperate here better, and a huge push here for the European defense industry to develop further and to have these investments in Europe.
Well, as far as the reliance on the United States goes, France and the UK are currently leading the talks on Ukraine's future security within the so-called coalition of the willing. What kind of a role could Germany play, not only in Ukraine, maybe with boots on the ground as peacekeeping force, but also in a broader picture, reinforcing NATO's eastern flank?
I think Germany has here a critical role as the historical bridge between East and West. I see the UK right now currently trying to have again a role in Europe with the Labour government, what they have. But I'm not sure how this can work because the UK stepped out of the European Union. They have a little bit of side role in that. So I think that's rather temporary. So there's a real opportunity for Germany to to reinforce again this German-French relationship and to have here a common leadership in Europe. Boots on the ground in Ukraine, I don't think that this is something feasible. If there was really a broader approach to have an alliance under the UN or something, possibly, but as such as a European or even German initiative, I don't see that, and I also don't see the support in Germany for that. To take one step back, maybe what is very important to see in the coalition talks, what we have currently in Germany, it is all about getting over this shock that a relationship within NATO and with the US, how we get over that and how we respond for that. And the recipes are the same again. So Germany wants to have here an integrated role with the United Nations. So also in the coalition talks right now, they refer all the time that everything has to be aligned with the United Nations. That we want to foster these relationships, that we want to foster United Nations decisions, and we want to foster the EU and the common foreign affairs policy for that. So it's essential for Germany to have here not to act alone, but to act with its European and international global partners.
How has this latest change in the transatlantic relationship been viewed in the German society? We know for years the pacifism in Germany brought about by its legacy in both of the world wars, by the country being divided because of the atrocities of the Third Reich. How do you believe Berlin stepping up militarily, building up Bundeswehr, how could that be perceived within the country?
Right now it's a shock, because also my generation, we grew up without any kind of wars. I mean, there was the Cold War going on, but it was very abstract. There was the division of Germany, and with all of that history, Germany was very defensive and didn't want to have here anything to do, despite having a very strong defense industry. We made our life easy. So we paid ourselves out of our obligations. If you look at these Gulf Wars or how we acted before, we didn't actively take part, but we were willing to pay our share in that, and we paid our share in that. Now, it is still a shock, and the German population wants to be in majority on the right side, and on the right side of history. And I think that leads here to a lot of the reactions what you see right now. There's still a very big support for the Ukrainian refugees, which we have here more than 1 million in Germany. So there's a really will to help actively and to be on the right side. On the other side, our country is divided, and strangely enough, despite the Soviet and Russian history in East Germany, particularly in East Germany, you have a real will that we don't break our relations with Russia completely, because they still feel close to Russia. Whereas in Western Germany, there's more the old thinking of the bad Russians are back and they are doing their thing. I think for us it's important, or that would be my wish for German politics, that we see it a little bit more nuanced, our relation, when it comes to cooperation and what is beneficial on both sides. We clearly depended for decades on Russian energy. Now to replace it with a dependency on other world powers on energy, I'm not sure if this is now the recipe to go. What I'm trying to say is that we have to rethink here our relation and how we deal with partners like Russia, which we need to integrate again. You raised a very good point. I think our outgoing foreign minister and Germany's role here in foreign affairs let's say it like that, maybe that was not the full potential of German policy, what was going on there. We need to be more diplomatic, and we need to be aware of our role, what we have here. We were always a good partner with the Russians, and we need to also recreate here at least a working environment again, which is just helpful for keeping the peace in Europe.
Now that you mentioned diplomacy and the German approach to things, the German President Frank-Walter Steinmeier is currently on a tour of the South Caucasus, having already visited Armenia. He's set to visit Azerbaijan as well. Given the peace talks between the two countries that are still ongoing, do you see Germany perhaps influencing the dynamics in the region?
Hopefully. I hope that Frank-Walter Steinmeier takes that his visit there contributes to peace talks. We need to be balanced there, and I think Frank-Walter is in a good position to do that. He is from the same generation like Gerhard Schröder, with a balanced view between East and West, and I sincerely hope that we can help also there. It's a fine line which Germany has to acknowledge between its own interests and the interests here of keeping peace and to keep our world order in place, which is, we had for decades no debates about national borders and about invasion of these. So we need to get back to this old good reality where foreign countries were respected and foreign borders were unchangeable.
Well, Michael, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your insights and opinions.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
And thank you for watching. That's all we had for you in this edition of Context. But please do stay tuned to A News.